where marketing teams and growth teams actually like really do the work is what happens after the visibility. How do we actually nurture the leads, not the audience, right? Because audiences are not customers. Now, there's a lot of companies who are going into just podcast advertising and creating their own channels. And that in itself is marketing. That's the work of a marketing team. The founder would need a marketing person or assistant or somebody to help him with the podcast creation and distribution.
The whole idea is like founders should have brands and audiences, but the bigger you are, like the more like scrutiny you will get.
Building the audience from scratch, which you should be doing before you get to my level of audience. Plug into mine first.
Why are you assuming everyone sees every post you write?
Yeah.
Like only you know every post you write. Trends.
Or
Here's
hot
the
takes.
Hot takes. Ooh, what's a good hot take here? I think, okay, here's one hot take. We're gonna see a lot more. I think you actually are one of these. I don't know if this is pulling something you're doing out of stealth, but like new companies, new funds, new organizations will have chief audience builders who their whole job is like, you either build the audience or you have the audience in a space, join in and like be a partner in this company or like own a part of this company, because with you, distribution's easy. And like one example of that is a company called Somewhere, or like it was called Shepherd. It's like virtual assistant hiring, or like just hiring talent in the Philippines. And this guy started it, he didn't have much of an audience. And then this one guy who had an audience was using it, and he's like, hey, why don't you give me like equity in this company and I can just share this with my network. And he did that, and they like rapidly grew. I think they like 3x'd what they thought that they would that year in terms of revenue, just because like these people were sharing it. And then they became partners. All these like creators became partners in this business. So it's like, I think that this is the future where like you want to distribute something, which is one of the hardest parts of growing a business. You partner with someone who has that audience, and it's simple. It's just like really simple.
I agree. I think it's the same thing that influencers kind of do, but chief audience builders in this sense are now like, we are part of the company. We have an equity, right? We can do stuff. But I agree, because it's basically what influencer marketing is.
Yeah.
Like you have the audience, I have the product, help us sell it to your audience. And that has grown a lot in like just marketing mainstream because it works. People trust people that they follow. They like those people. And so if someone tells me buy this, I'm more likely to try it out just because of them. It's easier to break into an already established audience than to build one from scratch.
Yeah.
People should know that. Like we say, build an always been an audience. It has taken some time, some blood, some sweat.
Yes.
Yes, a lot of experiment, lots of resources.
Yeah.
And so it will be much easier for a company to say, hey, Peace, I think I have like probably 150K followers across all of my platforms. So YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. It's much easier for a company to say, Peace, take this money and bring the money. And say, hey, Peace, spend the next 6 months, 1 year, create content around what we do, right? And just make sure, be our go-to-market strategy.
Yeah.
Because I already have the audience.
Yeah.
Same thing for you as well. It's like, let's use Tech Safari, let's use your event. We already have the audience. But if they want to do the same thing with the app, it will take a bit more time because they have to build that content, build that trust from scratch.
Yep.
So just meeting people, I think it's something companies should do. But I'm actually thinking about like reaching out to like a few companies next year and say, I like what you're doing. I probably used your product. Let's do something for like 6 months. And I'm just going to spend time like just like promoting your brand and creating like organic content about it and see what the results will actually be. Because I mean, I have more audience than you do already.
Yeah, exactly. And like give me equity in this thing.
Yeah.
Or
pay me good money.
Yeah.
I don't want equity that takes a lot of time to invest.
But I think the interesting thing is like, facts, okay. But I think the interesting thing is, can you actually co-build with other people who have expertise? So like,
I think that's also possible as well.
that's what I'm really excited by.
I think that's also possible.
Why, like if there's experts in like, let's say growth consulting, why not just work with them to build an agency, but we build it off like our platform, or like we build an audience.
They have the expertise, I have the audience. Let's plug and play.
And I think a lot more companies will do that. The other hot take I have is, I think most companies will not have marketing teams soon.
As a marketer, I take offense. I don't agree. And it's not by bias.
I think marketing team functions are going to like drastically change. In the sense that like you like, again, if it's about trust for some industries, right? If it's about trust and growth and distribution, like the function of marketing is like awareness to eventually grow this company. If you are focused on sales and go to market, and you can have an individual do that for you online, why would you hire like 3, 4, 5 people to build out a marketing function when you can have one person do most of your sales? And like that's something we've noticed as well, where like we will have so we'll work with a company and they'll create audience, create content around a space, and they'll have one viral post that just changes, changes how they look at marketing even, and changes the number of sales or leads they have. And then they're just like, we invest a lot into all the other marketing functions, but nothing's had this impact. I think it's an interesting insight, right? I think once companies are cash strapped, they'll probably look more towards what is the one channel we double down on, and who's the one person we build with. So I think that, marketing functions will change, and it'll be a lot more about content creation that's focused on an individual or with someone who already has an audience.
I don't agree. I think there's a place for content creation and audience, 100%. But I think that there's a lot more that goes, and I won't say I'm not speaking from a biased perspective, but partly I am. It's there's a lot more that goes into marketing a product long term and building a brand long term. That is not just viral post, right? The content creation is great for visibility, but there are other things down for now. So I've worked in agency before. I've run my own agency before. And one of the reasons why I left because I wanted to understand what happens down the line. The truth with agency type stuff and influencers and stuff is that they have a block. They end somewhere. Your numbers and what you have access to do is impressions and clicks, and tell me how many leads that we get. And was the quality okay? And they give you some qualitative feedback and you take it back to the content. Where marketing teams and good teams actually really do the work is what happens after the visibility. How do we actually nurture the leads, not the audience, right? Because audiences are not customers. They're good for the visibility, but they're not customers that will give the company money immediately. So how do we convert all of those MQLs, all of those audiences to getting them to actually download the product? When they do download the product, cool, awesome. How do we get them to actually use it, activate? How do we get them to engage? How do we retain them? All of that stuff down the funnel, whether it's B2B or B2C. I think that's the place that marketing or growth teams actually play. That an influencer or an agency or an audience builder will not be able to do. But I think a lot more when it comes to top of the funnel and level of awareness and budget, it would go into audience building because you need that big pool to then bring in the actual customers that even the marketing teams in-house will nurture. So maybe companies will not have 10 people in the marketing team or 5 people, and they'll have 2 people. Or maybe one person that's okay, you work with the agency to ensure that they really understand what we're trying to do, and they're somewhere there, but it wouldn't just go away. That's my hot take.
I'm with that. Sorry, I think that's right. I think the examples I thought of when I said that was Elon Musk and Tesla, right? They don't have a marketing function. It's just him. It's
there's... Yeah, I mean, some businesses would. It's not going to be blanket for everybody. And Elon Musk, his audience is... I mean, think about him and the level that he operates in and the level that a lot of businesses, especially in Africa, actually operates in. I check how many Twitter followers Elon Musk has. Right?
He owns Twitter.
Exactly. So that, I wouldn't
That's fair.
Yeah.
But I can give you other examples of founder-led, no actual marketing, one founder doing all of it because they have a big audience. Or even the founder being okay, I'm going to do a podcast in this specialty. And that's a whole go-to-market strategy. And I think a lot of startups that are looking to be lean are doing this. They're we don't need all of this. And in fact, one person can probably do most of this just with AI.
So is your comment marketing will go away or the role shifts a little bit?
I think it's more of a shift.
I do agree.
The spicy take is we don't have marketing teams. That's probably the extreme.
That's the clickbait. So I agree. I think marketing will shift. I agree. I think 100%. Because if you think about it, there was a time where podcast marketing was not a thing. Now there's a lot of companies who are going into just podcast advertising and creating their own channels. And that in itself is marketing. That's the work of a marketing team. The founder would need a marketing person or assistant or somebody to help him with the podcast creation and distribution because he has a business to run. So he will still have a marketer. It's just the role will be will no longer be product marketing maybe, or just content marketing will be a podcast producer. That would be the role, but what the person is actually doing is building an audience and actually marketing the product.
And you might just have one marketing person who's a generalist, does everything, but coordinates other people.
Different agencies.
Produces assets.
And it will change and shift as the company gets bigger.
Yeah.
The bigger the company, the more resource it needs. So you might have an entire podcast team. That's an entire marketing team.
Yeah.
An entire video team.
Yeah.
An entire newsletter management team.
But the thing is,
Maybe.
tools are so good these days, you don't need any of that. Like, you can start a newsletter. I mean, you have started a newsletter, but it probably took you like 1 hour to set it up. Like, it's really easy. And I think the tools make it very easy.
I agree.
Like, for anyone to go and do it. And AI now too, with video, it's insane.
I agree with that.
Do you have any hot takes?
I don't actually. I actually don't. I don't think about hot takes in life.
What about something you're like, I think this is true, but most people don't agree that it's true?
Say your honest one, let me think about it.
People don't care about a company's brand. They care a lot more about who they see around the company. So I don't, like, Smile ID sounds nice. Or maybe I'll use a different example.
You ready for one, please?
I don't think of Airbnb the brand. I think of Brian Chesky, the dude. Airbnb was like, hi, we're announcing this thing, like this thing. I don't care as much compared to like Brian Chesky telling me, hey guys, like what's up?
Okay.
So I think people significantly overvalue a company's brand when it comes to like general knowledge about them compared to the founder or the people behind that brand. And like another example of this is even like Morning Brew, right? Like these guys or like The Hustle, which are these two newsletters, when they build out their function on like their video function, it's not Morning Brew presents the news today. It's like Sally from Morning Brew, like this girl in New York is like running you through the news and it's kind of funny and like you get attached to her. So I think like the relevance of brands is significantly decreasing and it's changing from brands and companies to people.
I don't think, when I think about Airbnb, I don't think about Brian Chesky. Right? I think about Airbnb. There are lots of brands that I think about, sometimes the founders, but other times I just think about the brand.
When you think of Paystack, what do you think of?
I think about Joshua. I do think about Joshua. I think about GB.
Yeah.
But so here's my take. The reason is because I know them. I haven't really followed Brian Chesky, so I don't really care about him. If I did, I think I would think about him when I think about Airbnb, but I just don't because I don't think about it.
Yeah.
But you can't use my founders in ecosystem because I know them. So I actually think about how they run the businesses. But think about it outside of you. Think about it from consumers, right? Sometimes we get into this box where we think the entire world thinks like us because we're very exposed. But if I'm thinking about it from consumers that don't have a lot of the same level of access or are not very particular about let me find the founder and follow them and love them, they would think about the brand. That's what I think.
That's interesting. So I think that's a good distinction. I agree with that. I think it's like but I think what that shows is something else. So like if I think about Coinbase, like the guy, the bald guy, Brian.
I don't know his.
Like he comes to mind. Or if I think about OpenAI, it's Sam Altman.
Yeah.
But this is not because I think about.
But when I think about ChatGPT, I don't think about Sam. I think about the product. If I think about OpenAI, I think about Sam.
Yeah.
But when I think about the product that I actually use every day, I think about the product and the brand.
That's interesting. So, I think these are two different things. Because like when I get Nike shoes, I don't even know who the CEO is.
Yeah. But I'm thinking about
the shoe. Yeah. So I think like when we think about companies as a company and like an organization, maybe less so the product. And I think the second distinction is when we're close to it. Like I actually care about what OpenAI is doing.
Yeah.
Because that's a company I need to be close to.
Yes.
And so these people who are in probably the diehard fan circle or the potential like followers who actually could be meaningful and connected to a brand, I think that like these are the people who think of individuals before brands.
Yes.
Like once you're connected.
100% I agree. I think once you're close to it, the founders matter the most. The people matter the most. Whether you're investing or you just like want to like follow the story, or you're trying to get hired or you work for the company. Like I don't even see Smile ID brand. Like I don't. It's not in my head brain, right? Mark is in my brain, no? But I don't think about it. But I know that when I'm not thinking about it as myself, and I'm thinking about it from potential customers, I start to think about, how do people think about Smile, right? How do people think about Founders Connect? Yeah. So I think it's that distinction, which is why I think both of them is important. Like, I think it's so important for founders to have a brand. You don't have to, but it's very important. There's no downside. There's a downside to not having a brand, but there's no downside to having a brand as a founder.
Kind of. We're actually writing a piece about this right now called "The Grass is Always Greener" or something. I think I haven't read it. No, sorry. No, I actually did read it because I had to review it to make sure it was okay. Because the whole idea is like, founders should have brands and audiences, but the bigger you are, like the more like scrutiny you will get.
Oh yes.
It's a double-edged sword.
Oh yes. It's like being an influencer or celebrity. The bigger you are, your life just isn't yours anymore.
Yeah.
And everything will be scrutinized.
Especially if you do well. And you're the biggest.
But if you're doing well and you're a good founder, there's no negative news. There's no downside. Like, yes, it will be like a celebrity and you won't have a personal life.
Yeah.
But aside that, people are in my business and try to like follow me and know me. For the business, there's no downside. That's what I was saying. Like, I guess for your personal life, people you can't go anywhere anymore. But for the business, I don't think there's a downside because the founders who have really good brands and very good visibility, they also get really good funding, right? They get customers as well. Like, what do you need for the business? Talent, investors, customers. And if people like you and they know you, they're more likely to want to work with you. They're more likely to invest in you because investors always invest in the people first. And then customers also like, I know the brand, I like the founder, right? And I want to be able to do stuff like that.
Exactly.
So there are lots of businesses where like, I like the founder, I want to try it out. Yeah. So
and you'd be surprised how many people make decisions about that.
Yes.
Rather than, this is a better product. It's like, I trust the person. Like, I know this person. You know, it's like...
Even as a marketer, there are times where we're trying to do something in marketing and we have to use the founder's name because we know that people would be like, it's the founder. And, like, they don't even need to know. Just say like, hi, my name is X. I'm the founder and CEO in the marketing email. People are more likely to respond to it. People are more likely to respond to me when I do stuff with Founders Connect than if somebody does it. Good example, our last Lagos event. So we were trying to like sell tickets and stuff, and it was going really well. And the marketing team were doing everything. They were doing everything right, and I mean everything right, like all of the content, posting, all of that stuff, and it was going. And then I was like, let me make a video. And then I made this video saying, hi, my name is Itimi. I'm inviting you to Founders Connect, and the biggest spike that we had happened in that video.
That's amazing.
And Tega was like, peace. Just be making videos because people respond to you because like they associate Founders Connect with you. And so until I did that, everybody's kind of like just chilling and waiting to the last minute. So I think people will respond to founders a lot, whether they know you or not. My hot take was actually going to be all founders do not need to have personal brands, but we already talked about it.
You think
because I don't think they all don't need to.
Yeah. The future? Where do you think the future's going?
I think the future is content just being repurposed.
That's a tactic. That's like a strategy.
Okay, let me
Do you do that?
Yeah.
So I like every 6 months I just look at what did well on my LinkedIn and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do it again. And I like change one or two things.
And it does well. People forget.
We did this thing because like we used to spend, I don't know, like 2 or 3 days writing an article as a team. And then like the other week, Adrian, like our editor, managing editor, was like, you know what, like let's try repurposing. And so he just told the team, hey, this week you're gonna write 2 articles, each of you, but you're just gonna repurpose something you already wrote. And like one piece took like 1 hour to make. I was like, damn, that's crazy. And it's like the idea hasn't changed, but the context has. And I think a lot of people think content is about, like I also work with customers who are like, oh, we just wrote about this product. Like, why would we write about it again this month? It's like,
you have to do it again.
Why are you assuming? Like why are you assuming everyone sees every post you write? Like only you know every post you write. Most of the people who read my content all the time probably only read 1/4 of it. Like I produce so much content, and the idea is not like, I don't know. It's like that's not how it works. Like people think you write something, you publish it, and that's your insight, and you can't talk about it again. But actually, you can.
You can do it over and over and over and over and over again.
And you should.
I'm always like telling Tito, we have so much content. Like I feel like the biggest asset that I have is the content that we have. And I'm like, the beauty of it is it's not real-time news. It's people's stories. Their stories are going to be their stories in 10 years. So, Tito, can you please go and find a nice video and just cut it and let's post it again on Instagram.
Yeah. Is that what you put?
Hi, do you remember this? Just remind, because I think people would always, even when they've seen it again, sometimes it's just like, oh, that was really nice. I liked watching it again. But I think it also just helps with consistency because you won't always have fresh content ideas.
Nope.
But and also, you will always have old contents to go back to and just like
100%.
Let's push it up a little bit.
How many unique ideas, like especially if you're writing content about like ideas or perspectives, are you supposed to have 100 a year? Like no, like you're supposed to have like 1 or 2 key things
and just
talk about them in
different ways
or show different examples. So it's like, I don't know, it's like you don't need to. I think when you start talking about so many different ideas or things, it's like it's already too much. Like it's better to be focused and known for one idea or one thing.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So I mean, it wasn't a hot take, but it still worked anyway as a trend, as a tactic, or whatever. Final thoughts, Caleb. What is the most important thing you want people to take away from this series?
I think everyone who watches this should build an audience. And not through us, like not just because I'm helping founders do that.
You can bring the business too.
But no, like I think any founder, like it's not hard. It's actually not too hard. It's very simple. It's just like, it just takes consistency. And I think writing twice a week on LinkedIn or even once a week on LinkedIn can do insane things for your company that like you wouldn't expect. And all it takes is a bit of time. So I think everyone should have an audience for anything they're trying to do, because it's the biggest asset you can potentially build.
And it doesn't go, even if your idea changes or your business changes, the audience can go with you still.
Yeah, exactly. What's yours?
I'm looking for a brand or two that wants to make me their chief audience officer and go to market strategy next year. So if you're looking for someone that already has an audience and you kind of want to like plug and play and say, peace, be our brand ambassador for the year and just like give us thousands of customers. That's all I want to do. That's an experiment I want to do next year. I'm looking for a brand or two. So instead of just building the audience from scratch, which you should be doing, before you get to my level of audience, plug into mine first.
Interesting.
See? I'm a marketer.
You know, we're actually launching a company.
Your time is up. You tried. You didn't do it.
You should brand that one. No, but for real, I'm interested in that too. I think that would be a cool experiment. Like anyone who watches this or anyone who has a nice, decently growing, cash flowing business, for me, I don't want it to be venture backed. I'm kind of over that space right now.
It just needs to be a product that I like. Like as long as it cannot be a B2B product because I'm not a business. Like it won't really work. I'm looking for like a consumer focused or a lifestyle type of product that I can integrate into my day-to-day, that I can use when I'm traveling, like a fintech, like just something cool, something, and I'm so down for it. That's my experiment, so.
That's awesome.
Come.
Nice. Check back in.
Yeah. Hopefully this works. Okay, thank you, Caleb, and thank you, our lovely community, for watching this new series or this test series or this show, whatever it's going to be. It might just be a one-time wonder. Yeah, but it'll be cool. Caleb and I are going to do more stuff together, so see you again soon.
See you again.